Hi folks, let's do a little experiment with some t-shirt transfers. Keep watching. Right, well, as you know, I predominantly use dark t-shirt transfers, light t-shirt transfers and vinyls. Now, I've done videos on each individual type of transfer and vinyl that I use, but I thought what we'll do, we'll also bring in to the mix these new sublimation kits, as I mentioned to you before, with the Subli to cotton powder and transfer papers that you use with sublimation ink, so that you can actually print sublimation ink onto 100% cotton t-shirts. Now normally you can't do that, as you know. You normally need a polyester type t-shirt. Well, I've got a 100% cotton t-shirt here, and I've got 3 or 4 different types of transfers here. So let's take a closer look at them and I'll tell you exactly what they are. Right, well, what we've got here, this is one of my standard t-shirt transfers for light t-shirts on printed with my dye-based ink from my Epsom printer, and I'll just show you, there's the quality of the actual ink that comes out. And as I said to you before, these are literally just standard dye-based inks that I use in my Epsom 1500W printer. It's the same sort of ink that you get standard in an inkjet printer, but I just buy it in bulk from a cheap supplier off eBay. So there's that one, exactly the same here, printed with the same ink again. This is a dark t-shirt transfer now. Now, the main difference that you can probably see between the two, if I go back to this one's been reversed. As you can see, the writing's the wrong way around. That is for the white t-shirt, and the reason being is that you actually lay the actual transfer paper face down onto your garment to press it, and with the dark t-shirt transfer, you actually physically have to remove this transfer from the transfer paper, and then you lay this one face up, and that's why this is the right way around. But as you can see there, the ink difference is exactly the same as with the light transfer paper. The only thing different is the transfer paper itself and the way that you apply it. So there's a white t-shirt transfer, and there's a dark t-shirt transfer, and then we've also got this what you call Subli to cotton transfer paper, which is a lot thicker. And if you look at one of my previous videos, I actually do a demonstration with this stuff, where I put this thicker sublimation card, so to speak, goes into my Ricoh sublimation printer with sublimation ink fitted. I print the image out onto it. I then lay the image in a tray, and I pour like a polyester powder over the top. And if I actually get near enough, I don't know whether you can actually see the actual polyester powder there that's sticks to the wet ink, so to speak. And that turns this basically into an image which you don't have to cut out with a craft cutter as you do with these. These were both cut out circular with a craft cutter, although you can do it with a pair of scissors. But with this one, you don't need to cut anything out. All it will transfer is where the wet ink was and the polyester powder is stuck to. So those are the 3 different types of transfer papers we're looking at. And while we're doing it, I thought I might as well print one of these Plastisol inks that I got from a company not so long back, and I mentioned to you before. Now, this image on the transfer paper I haven't done. This is done with what they call Plastisol inks, and this has been screen printed onto this transfer paper by a company, and then they send it to you. So you would send them the image. This is only a 1 colour image, so this wouldn't be too dear. But if you need 2 or 3 different colours within this image, then they would have to create 3 different screen prints, and that's where the expense goes up and up, especially for short runs. But in this instance, I'm just going to print this single colour one along with these ones, and we'll see how we go. Now, technically speaking, my 2 transfer papers which I use for the light and dark transfer papers, they print at 190 degrees centigrade for 30 seconds. The Plastisol ink transfer should be printing at about 170 degrees centigrade for about 15 seconds. And it's exactly the same with this sublimation one. They reckon it's exactly the same, about 170 degrees for about 30 seconds. So I'm just going to do all these on the t-shirt in one go. And over here, I've actually pre-pressed the t-shirt to get the moisture out of it. So let me just lay the transfers on the actual t-shirts now, and then we'll press them all in one go. So as you know, I've got the auto slide Galaxy press, which means that I can actually pull this out away from the main heat source and lay the transfers on the location without worrying about them curling up. Now the dark t-shirt transfer, as I said, has to come off, and all I do, I get my pick and then I just ease it underneath the edge, create an edge like that, and once it's up I then lift it off and you pull that off of the transfer paper back in, and that is your actual transfer. So that I'm going to leave that one till last because I don't want that to curl up. I'll just cover them all up with a cover sheet, push them all back in, and let's press them. Right, so we take the cover sheet off like that. I'm going to take off that one. That's the sublimation one. I'm going to take off my t-shirt for light transfers, there like that. I'm going to bring this over now to the worktop and we'll have a closer look at what we got, as well as peel off this plastisol and see what we got. Right, okay then, make a bit of space here. Let's get you a bit nearer so we can get a closer look. Right, so here's our transfer images. Now this one here is our normal white t-shirt transfer, which has come out very nice actually, to be honest with you. We have a nice colour definition as well. A slight variation in colour with the dark t-shirt transfer, and this one has more of a sort of a vinyl-y feel to it, whereas this one it stretches with the garment. This one there's less or no stretch with this one, so that's one of the main difference between a t-shirt transfer for a white t-shirt and the difference between a t-shirt with a dark t-shirt. Now this one here, as you can see, this is the actual sublimation ink printed on a 100% cotton t-shirt, and I'm sure you can see there that the colour definition, again the line definition, don't forget we didn't have to cut this one out at all. The image is stuck to the t-shirt exactly where the polyester powder attached itself to the ink, so there was no need to cut around this with a craft cutter. And this one's now cooled down. This was the plastisol ink. Let me undo this now. I don't know what this is going to be like. Oh, that's okay, yeah, that's lovely. And this is our plastisol ink, as you can see there, which has taken absolutely lovely to the t-shirt. Now if you were doing a one colour design like this, you could actually do this, as I've mentioned before, with vinyl. And the only problem is you don't want to go too small with these sort of images if you were doing it with vinyl, because you've got to weed out all the little white bits, so to speak, of the vinyl you don't want. But that fill there is very similar to a vinyl. That fill there is very similar to the white t-shirt transfer, which is the standard ones which I use, although the colour reproduction is slightly different, but that's more to do with the ink profiles than the actual procedure itself. And of course then you've got the dark t-shirt transfer, which gives more of a definite vinyl feel to it. So I would use that for a logo like this, for example, which is probably acceptable. But if I was using a big image on a t-shirt like that, for example, I would be drawn away from that sort of vinyl and possibly use this, because this is a nice soft feel, as with the white t-shirt. So yeah, there we go. What I'm going to do, I'm going to use this as our little test t-shirt, and what we'll do, we'll throw this in the washing machine, not on a hot wash, probably on a normal low heat, which is a 40 degrees centigrade wash. We'll put this in the washing machine once a week, once a month when I do a video. If I do a video on the t-shirt business, I'll try and give you an update and show you this t-shirt. At least you can see some sort of longevity of these transfers and papers and whatever that we've actually used in this instance. Now, as I say, there are transfer papers on the market and there's transfer papers. The papers I use, I actually say in my, and all the other materials in my training DVD, but if you go down to your local shop and buy iron-on transfers with just an iron, they really don't hold the colour. The colours can run in no time, they can crack and peel. If you're using it for selling to the general public for a long-term basis as a business, you don't want to be using that sort of stuff. You want to be using quality transfer papers. That's what I've used. I've used these for the past 10 years. We're just experimenting now, as I said, with the plastisol inks and also the sublimation ink to cotton papers and powders that we've shown in one of my other videos. You've seen them in action here now. We've got all 3 or 4 different types of print media for t-shirts on this t-shirt, and we'll use that now as our benchmark to throw in the washing machine, and we'll do that once a week. Anyway, that was of some use to you anyway, and we'll see you again in the next t-shirt vid, and until then, see you later. Bye for now.